All right. Second time is a charm. Let's see if we can get Elaine back on. Just give her a moment. Okay, here she is. I'm waving at her. And here she is. And who should be popping up any moment. There we go. I hear something. I hear something. Here you are. Okay, Denise, thank you for following us back over. I'm going to wait for some more folks to come in.
That's my sister.
Thank you, thank you. All right, they're coming back in. We appreciate it so much.
I feel like I need to get a little higher. Maybe I need to sit on a pillow or
Do
something.
you? I can always push mine a little further back so that our heads are.
Oh, it's okay.
So we're sitting
I'm just curious. Oh, that's better. Okay, I just sat on a.
and my lighting is all weird. I'm sitting in a strange spot. I'm gonna be sweating bullets in a minute.
Hotel room. It's so dark. There's no window. You know how New York City hotels are.
I know they don't care. They're like closet. Enjoy it.
Right, and my facing a wall.
We're gonna make it work. My shades are darkening up. My glasses are darkened because I'm sitting. The sun's over here, but that's okay. Thank y'all for joining. We see all of you. Naomi, we got Elizabeth.
Erica.
Yes, they're all coming in. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. We're excited to have you all here. My name is Lisane Basquiat. I'm the founder of Shaping Freedom. And today I'm really excited because Elaine Swan, my friend and co-San Diegan, is on here. Good evening, good evening. My friend Elaine Swan, who is the founder of the Swan School of Protocol, who is also an expert in the arena of how to act right or etiquette.
Get you right.
How to get it all together and get it right. And and so we're going to have a conversation today. Thank you all for joining. I see all of you, Erica, Harshan, Caroline. Thank you for joining. We're going to have a conversation today about in line with the whole Mother's Day month, because I believe in celebrating, giving things what they deserve, and I think the Mother's Day celebration for a month is warranted, if not
Yes,
more.
We need that.
Yes. So what I missed about you, Elaine, what didn't I say?
Nothing. You said it. You said it. You're good.
So
You said it.
Elaine is a phenomenal entrepreneur and building an empire and doing all the beautiful, wonderful things. She's also an author of a book entitled Let Crazy Be Crazy. And sometimes you just have to let crazy be crazy.
If they can't do the heck right, then you got to just let them be crazy.
Exactly. And so we wanted to chat today to talk about just in honor of Mother's Day and the experience of being a mother, just really chatting about what this is like and, and thinking about like what we could, where we can kind of start this little journey of thinking about like the adults being a parent to adult children,
Oh yeah. That it's been an interesting journey for me because I was a young mom, a very, very young mom. I was a teen mom, and so the one thing that I hear, when I do share that, folks will say, "Oh, so you all kind of, are like sisters," and I'm all, "No, I'm the mama." I'm still a mom. And so, I just have to say of all the things that I've ever done in my life, and I say this often, that the one thing that I feel is my greatest accomplishment is being a mom. And that's because even though I was so young, I was, very intentional about making sure that I was kind of, molding and making and shaping and rearing a human being. And my daughter can tell you this. I'd always say to her, I want you to be an asset to society and not a menace to society.
That's right.
And so with that, we grow, right? And somehow we have to think that this little baby that we have is eventually going to be an adult. And the shift between the because I said so moment to actually having healthy dialogue with your adult child and still attempting to parent them, because now you're showing them some of the adult themed stuff that we went through and trying to put that into them without knocking them over the head with it, trying to, pour it into them so that they can. So it's an interesting dynamic. It really is. And I'm constantly learning as an individual for my own health. I went through years of therapy and will every once in a while still pop back in. But I went through years of therapy just for myself as an individual. And after, at the tail end of that, as I started to get my healing and so forth, we brought my daughter into the sessions. And at this point in time, she was in college. She was in her first year of college by then. And we brought her into those tail-end sessions just because I was having difficulty in that area too. So it was like, okay, now that you're good, let's go ahead and do this other part too. So it's a whole thing. Parenting adult children, it's something else. It's really different.
It is very different. And thank you for sharing all that. So we're talking about parenting adult children. And for those of you who are on, we see you, Queen Bee and Alice in Seattle and Portia. We see all of you, so thank you so much for joining. And if you know of a parent of a child at any age, adult or otherwise, and you think that this is a conversation that they could benefit from, please go ahead and share it with them and get them on in here into this conversation. As Elaine and I are unpacking this, if you have any questions, you got two women who have been doing this thing for a minute, okay? And so if you have any questions or if there's anything that you'd like us to answer or help you out with, put it in the comments right now. And let's kind of make this a sharing thing, because that's really what this is about. It's about getting that support, because there's no book. And I know 1,000 people have said it. There's no handbook for parenting, right? There's really no handbook for adulthood, quite frankly. And when you add on parenting, you got like a double whammy that a lot of us have to really navigate and figure out on our own. So what is interesting, Elaine, that's why I love these conversations so much, is that I had my son Joseph as a teenager. I was 18 years old when I had my son Joseph. I was actually 3 weeks into being 18.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I had him at a young age. And when I first went into parenting, it was really about like what a lot of people do, which is like you kind of take the stuff that you knew and you're like, okay, I experienced this. Let me start off that way. And then pretty soon I was like, some of this works. Some of it is not so good, And my daughter, Jessica, who is 11 years younger than my son, Joseph, she and I actually, for the very same reasons that you're talking about, when she had my granddaughter, Emma, she and I went into therapy together, and we did this really intense thing. And it was literally, we were in a cabin together for a week, and it was like this group thing, and then they did breakouts with people. And so we got, over the course of a week, about, 35 hours of therapy. It was challenging, because it's something, we're doing the best we can as mothers. Like, that is one of the biggest roles, and we're doing the best we can. And even for those of us who are doing the work and, growing and evolving, it's kind of hard when this person you've been taking care of got some stuff to say to you, because it's like,
Wait a minute, but I fed you.
What? You didn't like what? You know? And it was really hard not to kind of pull that card, to pull that like I'm the mother card on her, and to really hear her truth
Yeah.
about certain situations. Like how did you experience like being in therapy with your daughter? How did that go?
Well, it was interesting because, I think her biggest thing to me was that at that time, was that I didn't listen. I didn't listen to her. And not that I didn't hear her, sure, my hearing worked, but the listening and I had at the time had a tendency of just driving my point home constantly. And she's like, Mommy, I heard you the first time. I'm going to process it in my own way. But, so it was a challenge hearing that you're not doing things the right way. I was so, like you said, when she was really young, it was about survival, trying to just figure things out. And as she got older and I saw, okay, she's going to have to be in this world, I started learning stuff as an adult, thinking, well, why did my parents teach me that? Little things, So I would then turn around and try to teach her, like, okay, this is what you got to be prepared for. Everything, right? And so I was so intentional about everything, but the challenge that we were having is the hardcore communication. I was not listening to her and really, taking in what she had to say. And I thought I was doing stuff right, and I learned that I wasn't. So that was difficult for me to receive. However, the good thing is that it was in the confines of therapy. So I was on a healing journey already. So it was hard to hear that this was an area that I wasn't doing so well in as an adult. And that was the thing that I had to figure out, was that she's an adult now. She's not a child. And so I had to approach things differently. It wasn't easy to receive, but I was in the place of just receiving all the stuff. So I was like, okay, here's another thing I got to get right. It's funny because last week when you were having your conversation with Jessica on this same program, you had said something and kind of made an expression, and Jessica was like, see, Mom, the just right now, I just kind of...
I just looked at her. I didn't say anything.
Well, and so we have we have to realize that there's this effect that we have on our kids, and regardless of what, they still love us, revere us, respect us, but they do take to heart everything we say, and even things we don't say, such as an expression that we make on our face. So it was challenging, but we definitely got through it, and I'm glad we did, because now the dynamic is interesting, because she works for me. Mm-hmm. And so now we not only have the mother-daughter relationship, but we have the boss-employee relationship as well. And there exists some nepotism in some aspects, but in other aspects, I'm like, you got to get together.
We're working together.
Right.
Yeah.
Really been something. This is new. This is different. This is different for me.
Yeah, and I shared with you that Jessica, my daughter, has started, and I did see that you had a question, so we're going to come back to that, Denise. Jessica works for me also, and it's a relatively new thing. And in the beginning, I was like, Jess, yeah, come and help and whatever. And then both of us started to realize pretty quickly that, okay, there's my mama hat, there's your daughter hat, there's Lisane, the boss hat who needs stuff done. Yes. And then, and then there's the Jessica who's the professional getting it done. And so it has taken some navigating. I mean, and I'd say we're on a good path. We're getting there, we're doing well. And it is an interesting dynamic, because now you have this, child, adult child, and there are little things like, what are you doing? And it's like, oh, I'm, I want to get my nails done or whatever. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, what time is it? Hey, you just up and get your nails done. My nails look like crap. Like, what's going on here?
I'm getting ready to go have breakfast with my husband, with Clinton, her husband, and then I'll be to the office. I was like,
yes. And the wonderful thing that what makes it good is that there are also things that when you have your child working for you, there are things that you don't have to worry about it, like take my card, take care, different things like that.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
That is joy, because I can open give her the keys to the kingdom and know that it's going to be because when she's working and she's doing her stuff, she's good.
Yes.
Right. That's the thing that when you do have I get it when you see I won't start naming names. I was going to say different politicians in the world that have their kids working for the company that are from New York City.
Girl, but anyway,
right, but I understand because you can give them the keys to the kingdom and know that they are trustworthy. Like you can skip over all of that and just have them do that. But at the same time, you got to get the job done too.
Yeah.
And so, we have to find, that moment where we're not, for example, in the workplace, especially when you have other team members around, that you're still addressing them with decency and respect, and not telling her to do something as the mom, but telling her to do something as the boss. So that's interesting. And then you have Emma, your grandbaby Emma, and so when you have grandchildren, that's even a whole other thing, because now you're looking and you really want to say, do this or don't do this based upon your own personal experience, right? We can do that with our girlfriends, maybe like, hey, girl, I had this experience, but when it's your kid, they just receive things so differently, and it's a lot once they become moms. So
I have a question for you, and I'm gonna just ask the question, right?
Okay.
So you said that there was a time where your daughter felt that maybe you didn't listen to what she had to say, and I'm bringing that up because I think that a lot of adult daughters feel that sometimes. I know for me, I didn't feel that with my mother. I felt it with my father, right? Where it was really hard for me sometimes to say something to him because I felt that like he didn't always hear me really.
Yeah.
And so as, you said it, you shared that, and thank you for sharing it. And I wonder, like, what advice do you have for other adult daughters who may have a mom that perhaps isn't in a place to really hear them? Like, what advice do you have? What is the way that your daughter used to kind of get you to understand where she was coming from?
Well, we were great because we were in the confines of therapy, but here's the one thing that we can do, because I had as with your dad, I had that with my mom, right? And one actual tangible thing a daughter can do is to write it out. Take a moment and write a letter. I'm not saying send a long text message, but really take a moment and write out an actual pen to paper, your thoughts, right? And share whatever it is you're trying to say, so they're almost like a love letter, right? And when you do this, it makes the person kind of sit down and take a moment for you to pick up a piece of paper and read something. Now, you got your coffee or tea in your hand, and you really can kind of take that thing in. But when you write it out, and I actually do say this in my book, Let Crazy Be Crazy, I say, try to say it in 3 lines or less. And what I mean by that is, don't throw the whole kitchen sink at mom, right? Really go through your thought process and ask yourself, what's really important to me? Okay, so, she always, is going to say something like, oh, that dress is short. But she's not going to stop me from wearing it, right? So who cares that she keeps saying that? She says it because she says it, but she's not going to stop me from wearing it or try to get me to stop wearing it. That's not a big issue. But this thing over here is really a big issue. I really need her to allow me to make my own choices in this space, and that's something that she's not letting me do. So I'm going to put that in a letter. So be very succinct and be very specific about it. Write it out, because sometimes the talking, there's too much back and forth in the moment. moment. And so if they can sit down, read what you have to say, and kind of reflect on that, you may have better results in terms of kind of getting through to mom.
Yeah, that's great advice. And I think what that does for both is for the daughter or the son, whomever, it gives them the opportunity to really think through their thoughts and get them down so that they can be clearer when the time comes to actually have a conversation about it. Right?
Yeah.
Because you can hand it to your mom or your dad, whatever's appropriate for your situation, but there is going to have to be a conversation. Like, you
Right.
can't believe that, check the letter. That's not going to work, right? So the
No.
letter is just kind of like the appetizer to a bigger conversation that you can have later on.
Yeah.
And I think what's great for the parent is it gives the parent the opportunity to hopefully check themselves and really see beyond the words that are, because typically that thing that got you all hyper about like reading the letter is probably the thing that parent needs to work on.
Yeah.
Because if you're feeling some kind of a way, like, wait a minute, what do you mean? I was just trying to get you to wear purple pants or whatever the thing is. It's typically, that's a good sign for the parent reading it, where they can be like, okay, let me really think about, is this about what I believe is best for my child, or is this about me pushing my agenda, my thoughts onto another adult person who is from me, but not me?
Right. And in that, right, when we write the letter, we're not writing to say, what you not gonna do, mama, is this. That's not
Thank
the
you.
purpose.
I'm glad you put that in there, because we don't want to put people getting knocked.
The letter is to express, right, here's what's happening to me, and what can we do? What can we do to fix this? So like you said, Lisane, it's the appetizer that's going to open up the dialogue. They get to read it, they hear it, and then you come together to try to work that thing through and see what comes of it. It's not a tell off and it just ends there. It doesn't end with the letter. That's the opening of it. Yeah, that's the key there.
I do workshops, as everyone knows, and one of them, and one of the ones that is the most popular, is the workshop on boundaries. And this really is what that's about. And a lot of people see boundaries as like, this is my boundary, I'm never talking to you again because I'm setting a boundary. That's not really the way it works. Boundaries are really the way that you can set your relationship up, where you and another person can set your relationship up for success, even if success means that we really are not going to conversate. And that's with a parent, I would hope that doesn't happen. But it's a way of kind of like saying, okay, wait a minute, how can we make this relationship a successful one? Right? What do I need in order for this relationship to be successful? And sometimes there are some things that are easier than others. Like, I would love for us to watch TV together. I'd love for us to blah, blah, blah. And maybe others could be, well, you kind of have this position on my life that doesn't feel comfortable for me. And I want to be free to, make my decisions the way that I want to make them. And so, understanding that it really is a boundary setting situation, and you can set healthy and loving boundaries with a person that you love. Like your mother or your father, right? It's all about the way you do it and how much work you're willing to do ahead of time before the conversation, which is part of what that letter is, right? So it's like, so I get mad whenever my mom says something about my skirt being short or whatever. I'm just making it up, right? How do I feel about you know what I mean? Like, what is going on for me? What is it really? If my girlfriend said that to me, I probably wouldn't be upset. So maybe there's a bigger conversation that can be. So Denise Benz says, here's her thing. Do you ever worry about that being vulnerable with your daughter about your mistakes, that she'll lose respect for you? I'll let you answer that one first.
Here's the thing. I believe that it's important to share your wins, your losses, your ups, your downs, things like that with your child, so that this way they can see that you are an actual human being that, makes mistakes and makes wrong choices. And I think when we do that, it helps them to realize that it helps them to not be so hard on themselves when they make mistakes, right? I do believe that there are some things that, sometimes we work things through, not everything is for everybody. And when I say that, there has to be purpose behind whatever it is you're sharing. The, you may have a specific friend that there's something that you went through and you want to share that with them, right? But they're just not going to be able to see the journey in that or the value in that, because they're going to get too stuck on whatever the actual mistake or journey is that you went through, right? In my opinion, I think it's the same way with our children. We have to be careful about what we share with them so that it's still purposeful, right? They don't need to know every, nook and cranny, so on and so forth. Because of that fact, you do still want them to reverence you or what have you. You don't have to tell everybody everything, and I don't think we have to even tell our child everything unless it is relevant. There has to be purpose behind it, right? I went to jail because I threw a rock through my boyfriend's window and he called the cops on me and blah, blah, blah. I'm just using this example, right? So you say that and you share that because maybe you see your child going down that road, and that's relevant in that moment. But if that's not an issue for your children, there's nothing that they can take away from that except for, oh my God, Mom, you went to jail. Now I did not go to jail.
You heard it here. Elaine did not go to jail.
Now
I not
did throw the rock through the window.
Actually, I'm joking.
Okay, I did hit it with a stick, and I did break it. He called the cops, but they let me go home.
It was different. It was a different story than the one they're telling. Yeah.
Well, what I'm saying is that, if your child is not going through that experience in that, and it's not going to serve a purpose, then we don't need to tell them everything. And I think that's with every relationship. There's stuff that I've gone through that, for example, as a woman, that I wouldn't share with my brother because he just would not be able to handle it. You know what I'm saying? I'm just using that as an example. So I'm like, let me just keep that. And that's just my opinion in terms of going through life. Our journey is ours, and we possess it, and we take what we experience in life and we open it up and we share it with those that can benefit from our experience. If it has no benefit, if it has no purpose, then it's just falling on deaf ears and can be detrimental. So be wise in what you choose to share with your child.
What about mistakes that you made raising your child? How do you feel about that?
Oh, yeah, I did. Well, I asked my daughter this. I asked her, I said, Sequoia, do you remember me always yelling at you? And she said, no, you never yelled at me. And I said, I used to when you were young. Because I was so young, I would yell. Everything was yelling, yelling, yelling. And I don't even know. I can't even tell you what it was. But I knew that I had to stop, because I was making memories for her. And so I stopped early enough to where she doesn't even remember. And I shared that with her. I said, I used to yell all the time. I was always yelling, always, I was a young mama, so on and so forth. I used to yell a lot. And she said she doesn't even remember. So I shared that with her in the hopes, again, to just, not to say she's yelling at her kids, but to say, hey, I made a mistake. I was incorrect with doing that. But praise the Lord, I stopped in enough time to where it has not been part of her memory. And I shared that with her because she now has children. And so I want her to be cognizant of how she is making memories. And so in terms of mistakes as a parent, that was a mistake. I should not have been yelling at my child like that. Yeah. I shouldn't have. Yeah. Thank the Lord she don't remember.
And that you corrected it, right?
Yeah.
I think going back to Denise, my answer to the question is that I think that if you have a child who, let's say that it wasn't where you went into the past and kind of shared something that you remembered, let's say that there was something that happened where, or, I'll speak for myself, where I knew it was a mistake, right? I get how sometimes moms and dads can feel like if I admit that I made that mistake,
Mhm.
then I lose my authority in this relationship.
Wow.
And
Wow.
there is
Yeah.
a difference between respect and fear.
Ooh.
There is a difference between I'm going to respect this person because of this person's attributes and who they are and how they're showing up in the world and the fact that they're doing their work and that they love me and they treat me with respect or whatever those things are. There's a
Yeah.
difference between that, and there has been this old school, I'm going to refer to it as old school, but this approach that says, I'm the parent, so I ain't never gonna be wrong,
Right.
right? And so I'm not wrong, right? And so when they get confronted, sometimes parents can get very defensive, right? And I
Yeah.
understand it for the reasons that we talked about in the beginning, where it's like, I
Yeah.
raised you. Do you know what it has taken for me to raise you and take care of you and put a roof over your head and all that? And so we can
Right.
get super defensive sometimes. And I guess my advice and opinion about that is, we're teaching our children every day, every moment, right? And admitting something that we both know to be true is
Yeah.
not going to have you, as my child, lose respect for me. It actually increases respect because it tells you that I'm willing to live in authenticity and in truth with you. And it doesn't mean I'm gonna go back to my kids and be like, girl, let me tell you what I did on Friday night,
Right.
through a glass through a window, bust,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, it's not that. It's, am I willing to truly allow my children to understand that life is a journey, and
Yeah.
that the journey for a woman is a journey, and the journey as a mother is a journey. And I would love for them to be able to get something from that without having to go and figure it all out by themselves. And sometimes, I'll tell you a story. My ex-husband and I got divorced. Jessica and Joseph's dad got divorced right before she went to high school.
Oh.
And so when she graduated from college, we're fine now. We're fine now. And he is an amazing dad and an amazing grandparent and all that good stuff.
Oh.
We are fine, fine, fine. And by the time Jessica graduated from college, I was mad. Okay. Mad. All right. I was not speaking to him. All right. At all. And I remember at my daughter's graduation, I showed my butt so horribly. And it wasn't like loud and all that, but I
Sure.
was like, I was not willing at the time. I was like, I'm not breaking bread with that sucker. No way. I'm
Wow.
not speaking to him. And it
Yeah.
put my daughter into this
Oh.
really,
Yeah.
uncomfortable
Yeah.
situation of
Sure.
having to navigate it. And I remember I was so mad that I was walking and I didn't realize that he was kind of on the trail. And I looked up and saw him and spun around in my heels. My feet were hurting like heck. I spun around on my heel and walked the opposite way to go around the whole field just so I didn't have to be next to him. I was upset. It happened. It's
Yeah.
all good.
Yeah.
It happened. We all knew that it happened.
Sure.
So when the conversation with my daughter happened later on, it's like, do I get defensive, which I could have been because I had like 1,000 reasons for doing it, or do I take a moment and sit down and just kind of hear her and see what she had to say and how she experienced that experience for me that was just me being, whatever.
Wow.
And it was in that moment that I was able to say, you know what, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
And I was mad. And that's not an excuse,
Yeah.
I'm so
Yeah.
sorry, and, fixed it. We fixed it and it was all good
Sure.
later on.
Yeah.
But imagine being in that situation. And I'm bringing that up because it's such like a blatant foolishness, right?
Right.
I could have pulled the mother card.
Yeah.
And I could have said, girl, don't be questioning what
Right.
I do.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
Which would be like within the rights of mothers.
Sure.
And it isn't like you were talking, Elaine, about doing things so that they're all lessons. Like everything we're doing is teaching the person a lesson. So
Yeah.
had I pulled the mother card and said, that's it, I'm your mother, I don't want to hear what you have to say, what that would have done is the communication in that would be, first of all, your opinions and your feelings don't matter.
Don't matter. Uh-huh.
Second of all, I'm a bully, right? Just straight up, I'm being a bully, right? And it also, it really would have been teaching her not to be accountable, because our children see,
Yeah.
not always say, right? What that would have told her is, I can just kind of roll through this role that I have and not be accountable. And I wouldn't want my daughter to walk away with any one of those three. So was
That's
it
right.
a mistake? Yes. Was it not the right thing to do? Absolutely. And I think at the end of the day, similar to what you were describing, Elaine, they remember what you do. So with you, your daughter's not going to remember that you yelled. What she remembers is something very different.
Yeah.
You know, and
Yeah.
my daughter,
that's really good.
Yeah, it overwrote that experience for her, and you know, that
That's
was
good.
like not cool.
And I think in that instance, it also it humanizes you and makes and your daughter sees you. They see us as, oh, okay, my mom is flawed, and she's able to admit to that as well. She doesn't think that she's, you know, a know-it-all or on top of the world and she's not flawed. So so then what happens, in my opinion, I think that then they see that, okay, well, you know what, it's okay for me to admit my flaws as well, because that's the example that my mom gave me.
Exactly.
So yeah, that's good. That's really good.
Exactly. And
really
I
good.
think it also feeds into, because a lot of times when a mom is yelling or, you know, holding herself that tightly, it's because she's overwhelmed.
Oh yeah.
You know, women, like there's a lot going on in the experience of a woman, and we can be very overwhelmed and burnt out and all of that. Not that men can't be, but you know, we have, you know, a very unique experience.
Yeah.
And I think that one thing that I would want my daughter to know, and all the women everywhere to know, is take care of yourself. Right? So it's the yelling and that and holding yourself and being defensive and not being able to set boundaries or not being able to hear the truth. But the bottom line of that, the thing beneath it, is really about understanding that it's okay to take care of yourself.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So you can show up in the way that you really want to show up.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, we can really go on and on and on. There's just so many layers that we can unpack as far as parenting is concerned. And then, as you said, you know, just parenting the adult child. And I think that is one of the things that is really important. You know, when we're raising them and they're little, we're doing everything to kind of try to insulate them, really keep them safe, keep them even safe from our crazy, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when they are older, it is important for us to expose those things and have those conversations, the difficult conversations, and point out our flaws and so forth, because it's only going to help them be a better human being.
Absolutely. And us. And it helps us to be a better grandparent. You know? Yeah. So that your children are living in a state of growth and around people who are willing to evolve and grow. Yeah. So so this is Mother's Day month. We've proclaimed it. And we got to work our way towards Mother's Day quarter. And just every day is Mother's Day. Is there anything special for you in celebrating your role as a mother?
Oh gosh, I think I just probably need a minute to myself. That's the one thing I don't do enough of is take some time to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And so that sometime this month I'm going to take, there's a difference between just saying I'm not doing nothing and, but I want to do that, meaning not answer no calls, take no calls, sit on whatever, but I also want to do something that is very selfish just for me, that just brings me pleasure, brings me joy, whatever that is. And so that's something that I'm definitely going to strive for this month. And I don't even know what that looks looks like. That just might be an overnight spa just for myself. It might be me going and seeing a movie by myself that I want to see.
That's that's wonderful.
Yeah, something. But yeah, I definitely need a moment. I'm feeling that. I need a moment.
Feeling that for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been a lot.
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot, a lot. All wonderful, beautiful things, and a lot.
I don't even know how you do it. I cannot do, because you wear so many different hats and you have so many things that you're doing. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm at the point now where I really need it. I really need a break, and like a real break.
Yeah.
Like a real, like off the grid kind of.
Off the grid, just nothing. I don't want to do nothing. Yeah.
Yeah. So what's up for you now? I want to, for the folks who joined, and thank you all so much for joining. It's funny because the number of people joining is very different from the number that I'm seeing on the screen, but it's all working out somehow.
Okay.
Elaine Swan is the founder of the Swan School. She is an etiquette expert and is very frequently makes very frequent appearances on many television shows to talk about that topic, including you did a Kevin Hart thing. Last summer, I think it was, or whenever it was.
It was a lot of fun. That was fun, on this show called What the Fit. And we went to a country club right there in LA and did a whole a whole piece on just kind of going through the etiquette of networking and kind of meeting people. And it's what we do in everyday life, but it was a lot of fun.
It looked like it was a lot of fun. What is up for you? How can people find out? What do you need right now? What's up for you?
Yeah, so for me, I am in the process of expanding my business and scaling my business beyond me. This is my 20-year celebration for being in the etiquette space. I launched my etiquette business June of 2003. And so this June will be 20 years where I said, okay, I'm going to start this business.
Wow.
And so it's really cool. And I can only be in one place at a time. And it is my desire to grow beyond just myself. And so the thing that we're really heavily focusing on right now is our licensing program, where we are, I'm training other individuals and providing them with, I'm having a deja vu, training other individuals and providing them with a business in a box model so they can launch their own etiquette consulting business in their city. And it's such a great thing because we're helping female entrepreneurs. We're also helping them help their communities and help to serve people. So that's the key thing that I'm working on right now. And for very specifically, tune in tomorrow. I will be on the Today Show sharing my etiquette advice during the 10 o'clock hour with Hoda and Jenna. I'll be talking about wedding. I'll be talking about wedding etiquette for both the guests and the couples. So tune in for that. And if you need free etiquette tips and advice, of course, you can find me right here on Instagram or visit my website, elaineswan.com, and just check out what I'm doing and see how you can fit into the Swaniverse.
One quick question about the licensees. Who is this ideal for? Who's your ideal?
Yeah. This is typically for a woman who is an empty nester. You're at the point to where you're saying, you know what, the kids are out of the house and I want to do something that's meaningful in the world. I'd love to start a business, but I don't want to start the business from scratch. You see that there's a need. You're looking at the young people, you're looking at the adults, you're looking at folks in your community, and you're seeing, golly, people really need to do better, and you have a desire to help them and provide them with what's needed. And so that's what we do. We give you exactly what you need to get going. So it's really for a woman who cares about the world and is a leader in her own circle of friends. And so it's great because coming in with our licensing program, you're not just getting a business, you really are coming into a community, a sisterhood of women who are like-minded, who are supportive of one another. It's a phenomenal community. So it's not just a business, it's a community for certain.
And people are looking for community, and I think especially entrepreneurs. So
Yeah.
if you're out there and if you are interested in learning more, please reach out to Elaine. She is an amazing leader, an amazing human being, and really really resourceful and building an incredible empire for her family and for herself. And you know, you are all over the place. You know I move around a lot. Elaine moves around a lot and doing wonderful, beautiful things and being of service. So thank you, Elaine, so much.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
For
Thank
sure.
you. Thank you
Yeah.
for having me.
Yeah.
This
All
was
right.
fun
I know, a
conversation.
lot of fun. And I know you are someplace where it's a few hours after
Yeah.
than where I am. So I'm going to let you get to that. And so tomorrow, 10 o'clock, today's show, 10 o'clock
Yes.
hour, Elaine
Yes.
Swan talking about wedding etiquette. So tune in and,
Thank you.
you know, follow Elaine and see what she's up to.
All
And
right.
she's also an author of the book, Let Crazy Be Crazy. So, you know. So anyway, thank you all so much for joining. I really appreciate it. And we'll talk again soon. Thank you, Elaine.
Thank you, Lisane, for
All
having
right.
me on. Love you
You're
much.
welcome.
Okay.
Take care. Love you
Bye-bye.
too. Bye-bye, girl.
Bye-bye.